Eugene, as always when I come here, it's been so busy for you. Few things happening. First of all, Junior Far, Dante Wilder won at the weekend. He was in camp with him. What's happening there as far as Junior's concerned?
Yeah, now Junior, Junior was reporting back to us that whole camp and was letting us know that if we want to bet the house to make sure we bet it on Deontay. So Junior was pretty confident with the work that he had seen and the sparring that he had been giving Deontay that Deontay was going to get the job done. And every time Junior goes there, it's such a great learning experience for him. He always levels up, like goes to the next level, discovers new things about himself, because you're sparring such a high level opponent. Like the opportunity to learn and grow is is massive. So he has reached another level himself with his own training and stuff. And he's got a fight coming up end of July. We don't have the details because it's not locked in, but yeah, so he's in training camp right now for that. So yeah, he's looking excellent.
Cool. Your other boxer, Hemi Ahio, is he on the same sort of path?
And so Hemi, I was hoping to get on another card in probably America again. And again, guys like Junior and Hemi, it's been a task because part of their development is learning that it's a full-time job, a full-time task. You got to be in here every day. You're going to have a few days off after your fight, but the development and the learning happens all year. And Junior, who's been with us a bit longer than Hemi, has figured that out. So Junior doesn't take much time off. Doesn't mean he trains really, really hard all the time. It just means he comes in and he learns at a lower intensity, but the development still goes on. And then Hemi's starting to figure that out. I've seen Hemi here a lot, even though he doesn't have a fight locked in. And when I start to see that, that's when I really start to get pleased, because then I know that some real change can be affected. So yeah, both those guys are doing really well at the moment.
Well, talking about time off, I see Israel's back home in Nigeria and been off a couple of months now, is it? Is he due back in soon?
Yeah, he's due back in soon, so he's gonna his kind of break finishes with that Nigerian holiday back to the homeland, which I think he's got another week left of. To be honest, it's hard for me to keep up with him, but yeah, I mean he's just some well-deserved time off. His trip in Nigeria, I haven't heard too much. I got a couple of messages, and he actually sent me some messages last night about how he was in a local boxing gym, and it was a fantastic experience.
Cool.
The trainer at that boxing gym decided he would test Israel a bit, and Israel went in there just to watch, but ended up doing a full boxing circuit. Then it went on to hill sprints. Then it went on to some sparring and all sorts of it was the trainer really tried to show Israel that he knew what he was talking about. So yeah, Israel wasn't expecting that, but he took it all in his stride and said it was a really humbling experience. These guys were just the pictures and videos he sent me, they were just kids, and they had kind of a sand pit type of surface. I think there's only one bag there and some old pads. That's how they train, to this sport's such a brilliant sport, right? Yeah. All you really need is another person to hold the pads, a pair of gloves. Yeah, the cost to get into the sport, it's not much at all. So he's experiencing, it's a humble experience for him over there, I think.
Yeah, I think. Just what I've seen on Facebook.
Yeah.
It looks like he's really enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I see you in the gym here, Kai and Shane, both back in here training. Is there anything coming up for them on the scene?
Yeah, so I haven't got anything locked in, but those guys have been, I've told them that something will be locked in for them soon, so now's the time to start just coming to the next level of training, lifting the intensity just a little bit, just get the weight down and start to sharpen up again, because something will come up for those guys soon.
Dan as well?
And I know Dan's got something in the works as well, a little bit sooner than those guys. He's looking at trying to book himself a fight. So those guys are although they're not in training camp, they're kind of in the stage before they get to training camp where they you know, because you don't want to go into training camp completely out of shape. You want to go in there a little bit sharp. So you're kind of starting halfway up the ladder where you're not like just starting from rock bottom, because that's a little bit too hard. You don't quite have enough time in a training camp to work from rock bottom. So those are guys will get themselves up to around 50-60%, you know, performance and fitness, and then we can start training camp like that. So that's the phase that those guys are going in. Nothing like concrete yet, but very soon those guys will get a date and an opponent. Yeah.
One of your biggest thrills in the last month or so, Alex Volkanovski against Aldo, that was absolutely brilliant to watch.
Yeah, again, very pleasing fight. Yeah, absolutely pleasing fight. Alex performed. It was a performance of his life. I can't put any criticism on that fight really. Like we had a game plan, and there was a couple of branches off that game plan that we needed to have ready to go just in case things changed. But in the end, the game plan that we came up with for the most part was the one that worked the whole fight, and we didn't have to change anything. Alex just had to keep doing what he was doing throughout the fight, and yeah, it was a very successful fight to essentially be, you know, like probably favoured being more of a stand-up fight, which is somewhere where if the fight stayed standing for long periods of time, people favoured Aldo. But I think I kind of always knew, and our team kind of always knew that standing with Aldo, we didn't think would be a problem for Volko. So very pleasing fight.
Yeah, it was a fight that potentially there could have been some injuries sustained, but the fight plan, they were dodged those injuries. You know, if it had have come to the 50-50 range.
Yeah, well, we there was always a question of whether Alex can take that firepower, because we kind of mitigated that firepower as best we can, but so at some point in the fight you're going to have to, you know, there's always going to be a test there where you've tried to mitigate it as much as you can, but you might have to like take a hard shot somewhere. And there was a couple of those, but for the most part he had Aldo very hesitant and Aldo not throwing much, and he had Aldo always thinking about Alex's next move, which is part of the game plan. It's the kind of it's like the invisible side of the sport that's going on, you know, in the top 2 inches that kind of throws Aldo. Yeah.
You know, you've been critical in media about not getting the next shot at the title.
Yeah, and I was also careful that, you know, like, I don't like to be too opinionated. It's not really my thing, but if I have to stick my neck out for my teammates and my pupils and my students and my team, then I don't mind. What does it matter? Yeah. So I did definitely voice my opinion. I thought Alex was a little bit hard done by that whole deal that went down with Edgar and Holloway. I thought it was important to let people know, you know, where we stand and that we don't think it's okay. But it's also important to realise that now we can't dwell on that now that's done. Now our job as a team and Alex's management team, and their job is to secure the next fight and make sure that Alex faces the winner of Holloway and Edgar and doesn't get thrown into some crazy UFC plan to fight this person and this person and this person, where Alex doesn't have to do that, because we earned our shot now. So that's the job now, to move on from that, not dwell on that, and make sure Alex gets what he wants. And like I've been saying, preferably as the dance partner for Robert Whittaker and Israel Adesanya will be Alex Volkanovski, and the winner of Holloway and Edgar is what we're aiming for.
That's what the whole of Australasia wants anyway, that's for sure. And a lot of the world too, I think we'd love to see that.
I think that, those two fights could headline a card anywhere in the world, not just Australasia. It'll be biggest here, but anywhere in the world those two could headline a fight. So that's what we want. We just have to do a little bit of pushing and pulling and wheeling and dealing, and then hopefully we can get that across somewhere. Yeah.
On Wednesday you head off to China, Brad and Blood Diamond, Brad Riddell, Blood Diamond. Yeah. A big fight, especially for Brad.
Yeah, I mean, Brad in terms of MMA fights, Brad's looking to make that. This is the year that we earmarked for Brad to, make his transition to the UFC or one of the big organizations. And so every fight that Brad has is super important because a lot of people, or maybe people don't know, but Brad took a loss last year, which we were confident that he would win, but he took a loss, and that was a little bit of a setback, but nothing that he can't come back from. So he's already had one win in his MMA career since then, and now this one, and then we just need to get the ball rolling again, and just make a good case for one of those big organizations to pick him up. So although it's just another fight, there's that added pressure in the background that he has to perform because he knows what's on the line. So yeah, and that's why I'm going to China, which is something I've got to do every now and then.
And Sigi Pesaleli is in the Ray Cefo's promotions.
Yeah, and Sigi, I mean, what can you say about that? For $1 million, it's a really, really different sort of a format for the tournament. They get points awarded to them based on their wins, their losses, or their draws. Points get tallied up at the end, and then the two people with the highest points go into the final and then fight for the $1 million. So it's good. Like, it guarantees you X amount of fights per year, and obviously you have the pressure of having to get the maximum amount of points for each of those fights. So and the maximum amount of points comes from not just winning, but from getting a stoppage. So there's an old saying in fighting where you shouldn't really plan for a stoppage. You should just let it come naturally. But we've had to rethink that dynamic a little bit based on the point system, and so our structure of our game plan and the different paths that we take is going to be a little bit different for this PFL fight than it ordinarily is. But that's only because we need the maximum amount of points. So it's quite interesting for us to plan for something like that. Yeah.
And how far apart are the fights that they?
At least 2 months. They're at least 2 months apart. Yeah. So So not at least 2 months, but that's not actually that much time. So you've got to virtually finish your fight. You have a few days off and get straight back into it, to be honest.